Happy Monday, everyone. Danny Ferrier from Danny Ferrier Coaching here. And today I'd love to share a little bit of wisdom with what you can do with team members who are showing up late or generally dropping their standards, and how you as the leader can engage with them to ask them some curious questions and help them to realize within themselves what it is that they need to do to show up for themselves, and as a result of that, be a better person and a better team member. So let's talk about curious questioning skills. Now, these are skills that I've learned as a coach, and in my last 3 years of training, just the profound awareness that I have now that I know how to ask more curious questions has really helped me in my life to continue to develop the people around me and help them to step into their true potential. So what are curious questioning skills? The first one is to figure out what is the actual challenge here. A lot of people have so much going on in their mind that they don't know what specifically is the challenge. So we're going to dive into how you find that out. The next part to this is, where do you want to be? What would be the ideal situation? How would you like to be instead? So that's finding out what your outcomes are. And the third part to this is those curious questions that create the bridge from where you are today with the behavior that your team member is showing to where they want to be in the future. So I trust that this is a really important message for you as a leader to take with you into those curious conversations. One of the massive benefits of being able to ask questions rather than giving solutions is that you're meeting your team member where they are at. And what I mean by this is we're all on a journey. We are all learning what we can with the tools that we have, and only when other people help us to see things a different way are we able to change. Hi to whoever's just tuned in. So what we need to know as leaders is that everybody is on their journey, and it's not that they don't want to do the thing, it's just that they're doing the best that they can with the tools currently available to them. The next part to this is making sure that when we are asking curious questions, we're empowering them to come up with their own answers. So we're not seeing their situation through our lens. You as the leader, you've already taken a massive growth leap within yourself and your own development because you chose to open up a business. And your employees, you might think it's common sense or it's easy, but that's because your development is way further ahead than theirs. So empowering them to come up with their own solutions is a really important skill because they're not where you are. They don't have the experience and the filters and the mindset and the abilities that you do. So you want to help them to come up with solutions to their own challenges in their own situation so that they can put one foot in front of the other and keep on developing. The other part to this is making sure that you create connection with that person. If you are the leader and you are giving solutions all the time, you're not taking a minute to stop, check in with them, and show them that you genuinely care about them and their development. So that's an opportunity for connection, for you to go into that vulnerable space with them and say, hey, share with me what's going on. I'd love to unpack this with you. I had the situation with a client of mine who didn't show up for a coaching session one time. And I think she texted me 5 minutes before and said, won't be able to make it. And I said to her, okay, I guess something's come up and I'd like to talk to you about this next time we meet. So when we met the next time, I said to her, so what went on there? How come you had to cancel last minute? And she said, oh, the kids, and came up with this story of why she had to cancel. And what I did was I stayed super curious. I don't know her situation. I really wanted to just understand on a deeper level why missing a coaching session was the only solution for her in her mind. And when we investigated a little bit more, I said to her, how specifically is it a problem that you couldn't make that coaching session? And when she talked to me about her kids, I said, okay, so what I'm hearing here is that It was because you were putting your kids in front of you. And in that moment, she said, yeah, that's true. And then we investigated a little bit more. And then she said, yeah, I guess I'm not really valuing myself enough because coaching is for me. And if I'm able to show up as the best person I can be, then I can also give that to my family. So, one little curious conversation about missing a coaching session ended up unraveling all of this beautiful awareness that she was, in fact, putting her kids in front of her still and not prioritizing herself and her development, which in the long term jeopardizes the kids. So it was a beautiful way for me to stay open and curious and use questions to help her gain that awareness. One important questioning technique that I think should be very widely known is we have a psychological barrier that goes up. When we are in a vulnerable situation with someone, we have a natural defense mechanism within us when we feel uncomfortable. And so that barrier goes up. And the thing that triggers this barrier to go up, when you ask the question, why? Why did you do that? And I'm sure you can feel as soon as I said that, there was an impact there. Why did you do that? Is such a direct and forceful way to ask somebody about their behavior. So when using questioning techniques, never start with why. I know everything else in leadership is about start with why, but when you're questioning someone, don't start with why. Start with what or how or who. But when you can say to someone, how did that situation play out? Or what was it about being late that was a challenge? So those kind of questions are more open-ended and they stop the defense mechanism from triggering so that you can actually have an impact with the questions that you're asking. So this is a course that normally I would teach over 3 days probably. So it's just going to be a really quick version of the questioning techniques. The first one we mentioned is to be able to find out what is the actual challenge. So when you're in a conversation with someone, you say, how specifically is it a challenge for you to show up to work on time? And they might say, well, the traffic and getting the kids off to school, and they come up with this whole narrative. Your job in the conversation is to find out not what the problem is, but what they think about the problem. So then you can reflect back to them. Okay, so what I'm hearing is you are finding it challenging with the kids and not able to leave early enough for the traffic. So what is your mindset around leaving the house? Share with me a little bit more about that. And this will help you to get really specific on not that the kids or the traffic is a problem, but their thinking about their responsibility to leave earlier to then be at work on time. You want to just think about getting really specific. So the problem is the problem, the challenge, how specifically that challenge affects them, and then how specifically they feel about the challenge affecting them. So bear with me because this is a little bit complicated. Understanding how they are affected by the challenge, which is going to help you to be able to change their thinking. So, for example, if they are late and then they feel so bad about being late that they're then in a funk, and then they are in like this, when you arrive late somewhere and then you're just frazzled, they might be then blaming themselves if it was things outside of their control. So maybe there was really bad traffic and they normally leave earlier, but today was a particularly bad day and the traffic was just really bad. So then you can help them with their thinking. You can say, okay, but is it really necessary to stress out right now about this if it was just a one-off occasion? So again, using those questioning skills, But it's not ever the challenge. The challenge isn't the problem. It's how they think about the problem. And to do this, you want to get really specific. And the question I always ask is, how specifically is it a challenge for you? How specifically is it a challenge for you to arrive on time? And when they give you the spiel, then you can say again, and how specifically is that a challenge for you? So you're peeling back the layers of an onion to find out how specifically it affects them. Are we good so far? You're still there? Wonderful. And what happens is when we get really specific about the challenge, then we know what the real problem is. And we can deal with the real underlying challenge rather than just the surface level challenge that keeps on cropping up over and over again. We can help the team member to improve the thinking that created the challenge in the first place. Cool. So the next part to this is finding out where they would like to be. So using questions like, in an ideal situation, how would you like to be? Or what will it give you when you are arriving on time, for example? Or in 6 months' time, if you arrive on time every day, what will that mean for you in this position? So you're using the curious questions to find out where they want to go. What does it actually mean to them for them to honor themselves enough to show up on time? And what happens is you've got the challenge, how specifically it's a problem for them, and then you've got the solution of how they want to be. And that's really important because you are helping them to understand what the consequence is of their behavior. And when you're helping them see a future version of themselves that is showing up responsibly on time, that is honoring themselves, you create emotion. You create emotion within the team member to be able to visualize and connect with that version of themselves. So what we want to do is just explore, go on an adventure with that team member. I want to say, okay, so if we were really dedicated to being on time every single day, what would that mean for you with your family? And they might say, well, if I was able to be more on time, then my family would see me being more present because I wouldn't be running late all the time. Okay, excellent, beautiful. And what will that mean for your kids in the future? And they might say, well, it means that they'll learn from a great role model. So literally going on an adventure with your team member to find out how it could be different if they looked at it a different way, and creating the ideal scenario for themselves. And the third part to questioning is the bridge. So what we've done is we've found out the specific challenge. We've talked about where they want to go. Now you want to use questions to bridge the gap. So what do I mean by that? So from A to B, well, for example, one of my favorite questions is, what do you need to let go of to get to where you want to go? Or what's one thing that you could do differently to get from A to B? Or what do you need to believe about yourself to be able to take action to get to B? Or another really, really great question is, what do you need to value to get from A to B? And marrying all of those questions together and thinking about it in your mind as having a bridge, the specific problem, where they want to go, and helping them with little questions, helping them get from A to B. And remember that these are not just grand moments when someone has a big realization bomb go off. You're just helping them with slightly seeing something different. The Japanese call this kanzai, constant and never-ending improvement. And that means just one thing differently. Maybe being 5 minutes early for work, not 10 minutes, not half an hour, not going from here to here. Making sure that you help them see that just small little improvements make a really big difference. And that is our job as business owners and leaders, to help people continually show up for themselves. And you don't want to give them a huge goal, because otherwise it's too unattainable. Just small little things in their development journey that are going to make a big difference to them. And as a result of them feeling great, will make a great difference to your business. I'm Dani Ferrier, and I trust that this is an important message. Enjoy the rest of your week, and bye for now.